Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and Happy New Year. Thank you for joining me tonight on this webinar. We're going to go through the drinking gels. There's 4 of those, as you know. We're then going to look at some of their benefits. We will start by looking at a little bit on the history and the theory behind it all, so you get the full picture. But we were spending quite a bit of time at the end on the individual different gels. So if we have the first slide, please, Spencer, that'd be great. Okay, this is just to let you know who I am. And many of you will know me. I don't know where the first slide went, Spencer. It's disappeared on my screen. I don't know if it's disappeared on everybody else's. Can you still hear me, Spencer? Hello? Hello?
Hello, yep, sorry, give me a second and I'll just...
disappeared and my slide went.
There we go.
Oh, there we go.
There we go.
Just for the benefit, very quickly, for those of you who don't know me that well, particularly why the company would pick me to talk about the gels. Very quickly on the left-hand side of that slide, you'll see that I come from a long farming background, and I wanted to be a vet when I was very young. And initially, I did actually degrees in physiology and nutrition. Then I did the medical sciences tripos at Cambridge. Got my ME and then MA, sorry, and then my Vet MB. But as soon as I went into practice, I started getting lots and lots of questions on human problems. So I did the diploma in human herbal medicine as well, and that's proven very useful now that I've been with Forever since 1996, in fact, so it's over 23, 24 years. I've been on the advisory board for 22 of those years. So during that period, I've gained a huge amount of practical experience of using the products, those which I use on a daily basis, particularly for humans these days, but also I still do use them, of course, on the animals. If we see the next slide, Spencer. I don't know if everybody's got that great big black square in the middle of theirs. Will it move on, Spencer? Hello?
Sorry, David, it's just a little bit slow with the slides. There we go.
Mine hasn't changed. Spencer? Spencer.
Hello, yeah, it should do now. Sorry, it's just a little bit slow, I think. Has it changed?
No, it's still got a picture of me with the bull on it.
Okay.
And a big black square for some reason. I don't know what black square is for.
Can we see now?
Ah, that's better. Now it's come up. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so very briefly, the history of using herbs to benefit and maintain the health of humans goes back way over 4,000 years, and that applies to aloe as it does to many other herbs. In fact, this is an Egyptian temple engraving from around 2000 BC. And on the left-hand side of the engraving, you can see a plant, and that in fact is the true aloe. That is aloe vera, the same plant that we use today, also known as Aloe barbadensis. In fact, aloe is Arabic for a shiny bitter substance. And what that came about because if you allow the sap to drain out of the cut leaf, it actually forms this very amber-like piece of firm material, which if you look at it, it looks like amber, and if you lick it, it has this very bitter taste. But it wasn't really until about the 1800s that people in Europe and the UK started to use aloe for humans and animals. At that time, often it was actually called Cape aloes or horse aloes, came particularly from Jamaica. Next slide, please, Spencer. Hopefully it'll come up. Yeah, now it's working a bit better. My picture's gone on the right. I don't know if you need my picture, but on the right-hand side, I can't see myself anymore. I don't know if we need to see me at this stage, but basically this is showing Aloe Vera of America, and it's quite important to appreciate that Aloe Vera of America, that company, is owned entirely by Forever Living Products. Basically, they look after the plantations and the processing facilities. And if you look at this lovely picture of an aloe vera plantation, you can just about pick out the yellow hue of all the flowering plants there. They tend to mature when they're about 4 years old, and that's when they'll start to flower. So you know these are mature plants. We have, in fact, over 50 million aloe vera plants on our plantations. 30 million of those are in the Dominican Republic. We also have them through the southern states of America. The reason we ended up in the Dominican Republic, Caribbean, was because sometimes in those southern states of America, they do get frosts. And Rex did lose a whole load of plants one year. And so he decided to make sure that we've got some where they don't get the frosts. So we have around 6,500 acres. They are, of course, the largest plantations in the world. So we're the largest producer of aloe vera in the world. They receive over 2,000 hours of sunshine every year. And they produce about 85 tons of aloe vera leaves every day. That's quite important because once they're filleted, we then compost down the remaining parts of the rind and use that to go back onto the plants. Because we try to farm these as naturally as possible without using too much in the way of insecticides and pesticides. We produce about 8 million gallons of the pure aloe vera gel every year. And this raw material can vary slightly depending on the soil type. It likes a very free draining, sandy soil, doesn't like temperatures below 5 degrees. It needs water, but it mustn't have too much or too little. So it's quite precise on how much water these plants have. If you give them too much or too little, the tips start to go brown. The season of year that they're cut also affects the gel. It can actually change again slightly in color and consistency. And the method it's harvest, of course, we do only cut off the mature leaves and hand fillet them. So ours tends to be very, very regular. Next slide, please. Excuse me. This is just a little cross section of the leaf because it's important to know where the different parts come from. And over the years, different parts of the plants have been used for different purposes. For the first few hundred years, it was mainly being used for preparations made from the sap. But if you look at this little cross section on the right hand side of the slide, you'll see you have the rind. It's about 15 cells thick. That's where all the nutrients actually produced. Those nutrients then have to be circulated around the leaf. And they use a little bit of system like our vascular system. They have things called pericyclic tubules. And that's the little dots you can see in the sap there. That's these little tubes which carry the xylem and phloem around the leaf. So they're carrying all the nutrients around the leaf. That layer is quite high in the anthraquinones, the bitter aloes. And that was the old product that they used to use many, many years ago, often painted on children's nails to stop them biting their nails. The mucilage layer underneath is a container layer. It tends to hold the parenchyma cells in place. And that layer is very high in the anthraquinones. Sorry, the acemannan is found in that layer. That's a polysaccharide, which we'll talk about in a minute. And that's found in the mucilage layer. And underneath that, you have these very large parenchyma cells where the water is stored and all the nutrients are actually stored. If we look at the next slide, you'll actually see a leaf which has been partially filleted. And on this, you can pick out those different layers that I've actually mentioned. So if you go right to the top of the slide, the top layer is the rind. Underneath that, you can see little black dots. That's the pericyclic tubules, which contain the bitter aloes. And underneath there, you have that slightly shiny area, that's the mucilage. If you then look at the center of the slide, you'll see that the bulk of the leaf is made up of the gel fillet, the parenchyma cells. And we actually fillet, as you can see here, through that mucilage layer. So most of our product is made up of those parenchyma gel fillet cells. And we have a little bit of the mucilage layer and a tiny, tiny amount of the sap. It's important that there is a tiny amount of sap left because those anthraquinones give a lot of the antimicrobial properties, the cooling, calming, anti-inflammatory properties, and some of the analgesic properties to the actual gel. In fact, actually, it's that part which gives the bitter taste and color to the aloe, and I'm sure you enjoy that every morning. Next one, please, Spencer. So what's actually in there? How are we going to get the benefits from drinking these different gels on a daily basis? Well, so far we know that there are actually several hundred different nutrients in aloe. We've identified so far 75 of those, and to make it easier, we put them in 10 major groupings. If we look at the next slide, and I'm not going to go through all the detail here tonight, there's not time, but in the trainings, we go through these in quite a bit of detail. But basically, you have lignin. It's a woody substance. It's found with the cellulose. Doesn't do a lot, but one thing it does, if you apply it to the skin, it carries other compounds down through the skin into your dermal layers, through the epidermis, and that's where we need to get it to maintain the health of your skin. Also, similarly, if you actually drink the gel, it's going to help with its absorption from your digestive tract as well. Saponins, they're natural soapy cleansers, used a lot on skin. You'll see a lot of preparations you buy off the internet or buy on the high street. The bitter aloes, I said just now, that's the anthraquinones. I said about it comes from the sap, the colour, the taste, gives the antimicrobial properties, soothing and calming, so naturally anti-inflammatory, and it gives mild pain relief. Next one, please. Lots of vitamins. There are actually at least 10 vitamins found in aloe. There's the water-soluble vitamins, which you need to take every day. And these are the B vitamins. This is just a couple of them. Thiamine, which is particularly involved with your muscles and your central nervous system. And the riboflavin, which is particularly beneficial for your skin, your eyes, and again, your nervous system. But these you need to take daily. There is also B12, cyanocobalamin, which is very important if you're vegetarian or vegan, because there aren't many plants which have B12 in it. B12 is found particularly, the only two plants where you will find it is spinach and aloe vera. Just need to remember that I go through these nutrients, but they are only present in very small amounts, and so they contribute towards your daily requirement. They are not sufficient if you are deficient, okay? Next one, please. These are the important antioxidant vitamins A, C, and E. The vitamin A you'll be very familiar with, retinol, which is involved with the health of your eyes, but also the transmission of the stimuli from the back of your eye, your retinas, to your brain. And vitamin C, of course, for your skin, collagen fibers, bones, teeth, gums, all those sort of areas, and also the nervous system. Next one, please. Vitamin E, tocopherol. This is a very important vitamin, often linked with selenium, and is important for your muscles. You need to have this in your diet so you have good, strong muscles. It also is involved with the heart muscle as well, and it's involved with your immune system, and particularly fertility, the reproductive system. And so it's very important that you have vitamin E regularly in your diet. And so vitamins A, C, and E are the antioxidant vitamins. So they're the ones which help to mop up the free radicals in your bodies, which are damaging your cells. Next one, please. Lots of minerals. There are 9 minerals present: calcium, sodium, potassium, magnesium, chromium, which is a very important one at the moment. And calcium, of course, most of that is found in your skeleton, but it's very important for how all your nerve impulses work and how your muscles contract. You'll probably remember from your days at school with biology how your muscles have actin and myosin in them, and they use calcium to contract. Also in the hormone activation pathways in your cells. So it's a very, very important mineral. And you need vitamin D to absorb it. So you need sunlight to get your vitamin D active to absorb the calcium from your diet. And that is very important. So covering up too much and not getting any sunlight is not good. You have to do, like most things in life, in moderation. So you do need a bit of sunlight to get that vitamin D active. Next one, please. Spencer, next one, if it will. It's decided to be slow again. Here we go. This is a very important group of sugars. It's something you need to just remember a little bit about. In aloe, you have simple sugars called monosaccharides like glucose and fructose, but you also have them joined up in chains, and they're called polysaccharides. And there's one very important one called acemannan. And that one is the one which actually modulates your immune system to keep it in a good balanced state and in good condition. It's interesting how the whole molecule of ace-mannan is absorbed through your gut wall into your bloodstream. And so it circulates in your blood. Along comes a white blood cell called a T lymphocyte, and that absorbs it for food. But at the same time, it actually encourages it to stimulate other types of white blood cell called B lymphocytes to produce your antibodies. So it helps to boost your immune system response. It also has other properties. It can help to protect cells, it lubricates joints, and can help with gaseous transfer in your lungs. But the very, very important one is how it influences your immune system. Next one, please. So overall, what are the benefits of drinking aloe every day? Well, first of all, it's going to provide you with essential nutrients, because I've very briefly there gone through all the vitamins and minerals and carbohydrates, proteins that it contains, and these are needed on a daily basis in your diet. So these are, by drinking your aloe, you're supplementing your daily requirement. It's a great cleanser for your skin because it contains the saponins. It penetrates through your epidermal layer to the dermis because it has the lignin in it. It's a wonderful moisturizer. There's many, many products out there on the high street, on the internet, where they've put aloe into them to try to convince you they're going to moisturize your skin or your hair or whatever. You can get all sorts of products, things like all the deodorant, shaving creams, shampoos. They make ladies' tights. They put it in Persil washing powder at one time. And of course, it's been in Andrix toilet tissue for years. So it can actually moisturize every orifice of your body. So it's a little bit of a sales gimmick because they don't put much in. That's the difference between them and us. We take a nice vat of aloe, add other things into it to make it into a soap, shampoo, deodorant. So all our products have very high levels of aloe in them. That's particularly the topical products. The gels, of course, are very, very high, as we'll see in a moment. Also, the aloe can help to clean up your skin, get rid of dead cells, because it naturally exfoliates, and we call that debriding. It improves the blood flow to the skin, and very importantly, and something I've used throughout my years of using aloe in practice, it increases cell division. And this in particular is where you have a wound, and you apply aloe from day one, you will get a wound which heals about a third quicker and less scarring if you've used it from day one. Very soothing, very calming, very anti-inflammatory, and of course, in the amounts that we recommend, and even 2 or 3 times those amount, there are no side effects. It's a very, very safe product to take on a daily basis. Next slide, please, Spencer. So those benefits, where do we particularly see them? But it's quite remarkable because aloe has effects on epithelial tissue and the immune system. It can affect many different parts of your body. So you can see on the left-hand side, the epithelial tissues, it helps to maintain your skin, your oral cavity, right through your digestive system, the respiratory systems, ears, eyes, nose, throat, urinary tract, can even help with your joints as well. And this is all because all of those areas have epithelial-like tissues, and aloe has quite a big influence on those epithelial cells. On the other side there, you'll see the immune system, and it is a natural immunomodulator. Quite a few herbs try to maintain the homeostasis of your body, try to balance your body. And that's what aloe does. It's trying to keep it and maintain it in as healthy a condition as it can genetically. It helps to, improve the amount of immunoglobulins your immune system produces, and it stimulates large white blood cells called macrophages. They're important because they are large enough to engulf whole bacteria, and the actual ace-mannan in the gel actually stimulates those macrophages to be more active. It also contains mannose-6-phosphate, which helps with your immune system when it comes to injuries to your skin and repairing of your skin. Next one, please. So we spent a little bit of time looking at, telling out on the history, what the actual plant contains and what all those different nutrients do. And really this presentation tonight, it's really a very useful summary to keep hold of these slides, because if somebody asks you a question, a customer, or you've got something of interest yourself, you'll very easily be able to find the answer to it. We've got 4 drinking gels. 3 of them contain the new type of aseptically produced pH balance gel, and the other, which is the Freedom, contains the stabilized gel. It's important to remember that, and you do still need to know something about stabilization, because some of our products, particularly all of the topical products, are based still on stabilized gel. But we're particularly interested tonight in the gels, and why are our products superior to others? Well, first of all, it's very important when you buy any product that you can prove that the company is ethical, professional, and actually has total control, in this case of the plant, from the plantations right the way through to the product. And of course, with Forever, you have that, because you need to know a lot of unique selling points. And why should we pay, or a customer pay a little bit more for our product than they do for others out there? And one of those reasons is because we know exactly where it came from. We know exactly the plantation, and they can trace it back to the actual plants that our products come from. So with the gel, it's 99.7% pH balance filleted inner leaf gel. Now that is quite remarkable to get a product with that high content of aloe in it. And the only way they've been able to achieve that is by this new way of preserving it. They have to pH balance the actual product, and to do that, that helps to preserve it. To do that, they add extra ascorbic acid, which is vitamin C, and citric acid. Those are actually naturally found in aloe anyway, but they just added a little bit more to improve the pH balance. And then it's aseptically produced, which means it is flash heated to retain the freshness, and also that improves the bioavailability of those nutrients that we talked about. So the vitamins, minerals, mannan, etc., their bioavailability is increased because of the way it's flash heated like this. Flash heating does not damage any of the proteins. It's only less than 15 seconds at below pasteurization temperature, so it does not affect the nutrients. It actually increases their availability to your bodies. We recommend that you take 120 mils a day. That does vary between 60 to 120 mils, but my opinion is that we should take 120 mils a day, and I've been doing that now for over 23 years. There's no added sugar to the actual product, so it's exactly as it came out of the leaf. That's why it has so few calories. Those 2.5 calories are only coming from the carbohydrates which are naturally found in the plant. It does contain 84% of your recommended daily intake of vitamin C. It comes in the recyclable cartons now. It has no chemical preservatives in it at all. The plants are all grown on our own plantations, as I said, fully traceable. We only hand cut mature leaves. That's another unique point for ours. We don't go along with a machine like a great big combine harvester and chop the whole plants off. We actually only take the mature leaf, and we can do that because we hand select them. They are then hand filleted. They're actually processed within 6 hours. We can only achieve that because we have the basic process facilities on the plantations. So they're pH balanced and aseptically produced on those plantations before they go to the manufacturing facility. That is unique. No other company can do that. So we can actually do this within 6 hours. This makes the actual gel, the inner leaf gel, pretty well is essentially identical to what's in our containers. They are going to specifically maintain the health of the epithelial tissues and immune system if you drink the gel every day. It will also support your digestive system and aid nutrient absorption. It's going to have benefits, as we said earlier, for your respiratory system, for your skin. So there's lots of other areas which it will benefit. It has a 2-year shelf life. You can have 1 litre cartons in the tri-pack, so you can get the 330 ml containers. Yeah, they all have the International Science Council certificate on them. And of course, they are suitable for vegetarians and vegans, also halal and kosher. When refrigerated, they will keep for 30 days. But if you're drinking the 120 mils, you're soon going to get through that, even if you're drinking the 60 mils. So this is an exceptional product. And when you look at all of these drinking gels, we as consumers ourselves and our customers, these 4 make up nearly 50% of the company's sales. So it's a very important one to really understand and know what's in it and why we're taking it and the benefits you're going to get from it. So if we have the next one, please, Spencer. The berry nectar. So 9 times out of 10, most people will be drinking the gel because it has the highest aloe content. But some people want to specifically maintain the health of their urinary tract, particularly their kidneys or their bladders. And this is where this berry nectar comes in, because as you can see, it contains 2% cranberry concentrate as well. It also has 4% apple juice concentrate. Again, it's the same aloe. It's the pH balance filleted gel, and you're going to have about 30 calories in 120 mils, which is nothing. But again, you're still going to have 84% of your daily requirement of vitamin C. So if you have people who are particularly trying to maintain the health of their urinary tract, or you or yourself, or you want something which has a slightly different taste to it, then that's maybe why you would consider taking the berry nectar. The next product is the peaches. So if we can see that one, please. This used to be called Bits and Peaches, as you'll probably remember. That's because it contained little bits of actual aloe vera in it. This one has 84.3% of the inner leaf gel, so it's very high. It's going to have all the properties again of that gel that we discussed earlier. It does have a very delicious taste. It says here, especially favoured by children, but if actually specifically, particularly favoured by my family, I've stopped buying it because they drink it so fast, because it is so moreish, isn't it? So it is an excellent product from that point of view if you want somebody, or have somebody who wants something with a different taste to it. It does have the 8% peach puree in it, but it does have white grape juice. The reason I stress that is because grapes in reasonable quantities are poisonous dogs. Has 40% less sugar, 35 calories in 120 mils, and 40% of the daily vitamin C requirement. A lot of this information is actually on the cartons, but just remember and make sure you note that some of the original cartons and the amounts that they were giving for the different nutrients was based on 100 mils rather than 120. But as you know, we always recommend people take 120 mils a day. So just bear that in mind when you're looking at the cartons. The next slide, which is the final gel, drinking gel. It's one of my favorite products. It's a product I take every single day. Some of you will know that I had a very serious car crash back in 1991. I couldn't work for 2 years. I was really severely damaged by this car crash. And I was taking a glucose and chondroitin product at the time, but I didn't seem to get much benefit from it. And it was around that time that probably shouldn't say it, but a very annoying FBO kept coming into my practice trying to persuade me to start using the aloe products in the practice. And I thought, how am I politely going to persuade this lady to go away? And so what I decided to do was I would drink the gel with the powder I was taking of glucose and chondroitin, and after 6 weeks or so, tell her it didn't work and get my money back. That was the idea. But actually, over the period, I noticed for some reason the glucose and chondroitin was working better. And of course, I now know why, because they did lots of studies many years ago which showed that if you add high levels of aloe vera to compounds like glucose and chondroitin, more of it is protected, more of it gets through your digestive system into your blood, so more gets around to your joints. And that's why this product is so effective. It contains over 90% of the stabilized gel, the glucosamine and the chondroitin. Glucosamine comes from the shell of crustaceans. So it's not a shellfish, it comes from the shells of crustaceans like crabs and lobsters. And the chondroitin has to come from cartilage, particularly comes from chicken breastbone cartilage, is where it particularly comes from. So therefore, if you are a vegetarian or a vegan, you probably would be better off using one of the other products. It contains the methyl sulfonomethane, MSM. That's an extract from pine trees in particular that has very high sulfur content. And that is needed by every single cell of your body, and of course, particularly the cells in your joint cartilages, because these two, the glucose and chondroitin and MSM as well, they all help with your health, maintaining the health of your joint cartilages, your synovial fluids, and the joint capsular membrane, which holds all of that together. It's supposed to have an orange concentrate in it. I've never thought it really tasted that much of oranges. I do recommend the 120 mils, and in that there's only 35 calories anyway. Sometimes you can reduce the amount, but in my opinion, if you're trying to maintain the health of your joints, this is the product to start with. If you can't get on with the taste, then of course you have got the move, and we also consider products like Arctic Sea and our HA capsules, hyaluronic acid capsules as well. But certainly this is the one to start on, and I've seen huge benefits in humans and animals when it comes to maintaining the health of their joints. You'll notice all the way through that I've been using the terminology maintaining the health of their joints, and I haven't named any medical condition, and that's on purpose, because we don't need to. We just need to maintain the health of these different systems and know which products help with the different ones. Okay, so I think that's our last slide, Spence. I think if we go to the next one. First of all, thank you very much for listening, but we're going to take questions. I think Spence has been going through them as we've been going along. So just remember overall that you have 4 products there which are our biggest sellers. Over half our turnover comes from these products, and they are products, because of their very high aloe content, really do work in the way that we say they do. So let's start then, Spencer. What have you
Brilliant.
got?
Thank you very much, David. Just to mention, so all of these slides will be available after today's webinar on Forever Knowledge. We're also going to be sending these out by email as well in the next few days, so you'll be able to get hold of these and the recording of the webinar as well in case you've missed anything. But no, that was amazing, David. Thank you very much. I know I took away a lot from that, and I'm sure everyone else did as well. So we'll crack on with the questions. So the first question we've got here is from Helen, who has asked, how does aloe vera gel differ from aloe vera juice?
Yeah, again, you'll notice when you're looking at different products available on the high street or on the web, they will use different terminology, often to try and confuse you. Certain products, if they are gels, they contain almost a regulated amount of that actual product, and a juice can be quite variations in the amount of the actual active product they contain. That's why with ours, I always stress that ours is a gel and it contains 99.7% aloe vera, where other people often say their product has 90% aloe, but what they're referring to is the original vat that they mixed it in, which did have 90%, but then they make it into a juice, and of course they can reduce the amount of aloe vera actually in that product. We don't do that. We use a gel which has 99.7% gel in it, so that is a difference. They're often a lot cheaper, of course, if they're juices.
Thank you, David. I think that's cleared that one up. Another question from Helen is, how does aloe vera drinking gel support digestion?
Yeah, it's a good question. There's several factors. One, because the gel helps epithelial cells, and obviously all through your digestive tract, and particularly the little villi, which absorb your nutrients from your small intestine, they need to be kept lovely clean and healthy. So the aloe helps with those epithelial type cells. But also, and this can get a bit complicated, it contains a prebiotic. Everybody knows about probiotics, and our company makes a probiotic. People aren't always quite so familiar with prebiotics. Prebiotics are simple sugars called oligosaccharides, which good bacteria feed on to actually increase their numbers. So aloe, because it contains these simple sugars called oligosaccharides, they are consumed by the good bacteria which are trying to multiply, and that helps to balance the gut flora that you have in your digestive system, and that therefore helps to increase absorption of the nutrients from your diets, but also from your aloe. So that should explain that, hopefully.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you, David. Donna has asked, any update on the Freedom switching to Tetra Pak?
Yeah, they have been working on that. They've had a few problems that they've had with some of the other products in the past, like the sunscreen, for example. So they are working on it, but we've got no timescale yet when that will be available in the Tetra Pak. The other thing you need to remember is that, as I said earlier, the Freedom is one of those products which still uses stabilized gel at the moment. So it's quite a big change for them. They've got to change a stabilized gel to our new type of aseptically produced pH gel, and then make sure that they can get the proportions right of the glucosamine chondroitin MSM in that product. So it's quite complex. But yeah, they are working on it, but there's no date as yet, I'm afraid.
Thank you. And Eleanor has asked, does the berry nectar drinking gel help the body absorb more iron than the other gels?
Good question. I can't see necessarily why it should, because absorption of iron from your actual diet is going to depend on having a good, healthy lining, epithelial tissues, a villi, like I said earlier. And to do that, you need a nice high content of gel. Having cranberries in it may help a little bit extra, but personally, I don't think it would make a huge difference. It may be slight, but it wouldn't make a huge difference.
Fantastic. Another question here. Is it a case of either freedom or move, or can you use both?
You could use both. We tend to use a cascade system where you select one product and you use that one until that one doesn't work so well. Then you might bring in another one, rather than using blunderbuss treatment where you go on everything. So my normal advice for both humans and animals is if you can drink the Freedom, you don't have problems with its taste or anything, then I would use the Freedom first. That has the glucosamine and chondroitin in it. If you use the Move, which would be the next one, then with that one you have glucosamine, chondroitin, and hyaluronic acid in it, with the turmeric as well, which has its own benefits for joints. So it's a slightly different product, but I wouldn't initially use both of them together. I would start, in my opinion, on the Freedom, and then if the Freedom isn't working so well, then maybe bring in the Move and find which one is most suitable for you. And don't forget, we've still got the HA capsules as well, and Arctic Sea also helps the joints. But certainly use it as a cascade. Don't go and use them all at the same time. Go through a sequence of one at a time and use it for quite a few weeks to see that if you're getting the benefit, at least 6 weeks. All the studies we did, it took 6 to 12 weeks before the maximum benefits were seen. So don't just take it for a couple of weeks and say, oh no, it's not working. Give it a good trial before you change. But start on, in my opinion, on Freedom, and then you can bring in Move later. Or there are people who find Move, works better for them. But from my experience of using these now for a long time, many years, I found the sequence is best to go for Freedom, then Move, topping up with Arctic Sea and HA if necessary. Okay.
Fantastic. Thank you, David. Jennifer has asked here, would it still be 120 millilitres of gel for children or less?
No, it wouldn't be the same. It depends on the age of the child. We wouldn't, and I still stick by it, I do not normally advise the use of aloe products in children until they have developed a gut flora. So once they're eating solids and putting things in their mouths and stuff, they're soon going to develop a gut flora. So once that's developed, then you can take the gel, for example, and we start on a quarter of the adult dose. So that means you'll be on, for a young child, no more than 30 mils. And with children, we always do introduce it slowly. You start off just 1 or 2 mils and then build it up. As they get older into teenage, and you get on half the level, and as they go into adulthood, then obviously they can have the full amount. So no, we would not give the child that amount. We would definitely have a young child a quarter of that 120 mils.
Kirsty here has asked, what is the difference with a stabilized gel?
The difference is that number one, you'll find it's a higher concentration of gel when you're looking at the new ones. So you have 99.7% gel in the new preparation. The stabilized gel is lower. Like you've heard in the Freedom, we only have 90% in there, but it is lower even in the old gel. That's number one. Number two is that we had to add to the stabilized gel stabilizers like xanthan gum, which is an extract from seaweed or kelp. We added other products like sucrose, which is a starch extract. Some of them came from maize, corn on the cob. Some of the extracts came from mountain berries. So in the stabilized gel, you'll find there are quite a few stabilizers or preservatives, where in the new gel, there aren't. All they've done is added natural ascorbic acids and citric acid, which are found in aloe vera anyway. So there's nothing else added to it. So it is as nature intended, and I'm a great believer in products that I use myself or on humans or animals that are as near to what nature produced as possible. So I love the drinking gel because it's pretty well identical to what came out of the leaf. I love the bee products because they're all, you know, pollens and propolises and royal jellies, which is exactly as the bees produce. So that's just as nature actually intended us to take them. So that's why the move to the new gel is a tremendous move, and you know, quite a risk for the company really, because you know, for 40 years they'd used stabilized gel, and they then came up with the new process, which actually means that the gel is stabilized a lot quicker in that new gel within 6 hours. And it is, because it is flash heated, it improves the bioavailability of the nutrients. So the difference again from the stabilized gel to the new one is you're getting more of the nutrients absorbed from your guts into your blood. So more of the vitamins, more of the minerals, more of the active carbohydrates like the asamannin are getting into your blood. So it is quite a tremendous leap forward for our gel over the old stabilized. So the stabilized will be replaced not only in the Freedom, but also in the topical products given time, because it is quite complicated to change those things over after 40 years. Next one, please.
Thank you, David. So we've got time for a few more questions. The next one is from Ben. And he said there's quite a difference in taste in the old style gel and the new style. Could you explain why this is?
Yes, it's quite straightforward, really. You'll find with the new gel, it's essentially the filleted gel straight out of the leaf. Nothing is really added to change its taste, where with the old stabilized gel, sorbitol was added as a sugar, which came from, as I said, corn on the cob. The kelp was added, mountain berry extracts were added. All of those were added to try and improve the taste. So there is going to be a considerable difference, which there is, in taste. Also, in the old stabilized gel, because it wasn't, and I use the word loosely, homogenized, you found that you had quite a lot more bits and pieces in it, actually little chunks, microscopic chunks really, or very small chunks of the inner leaf gel. And that's what you used to notice if you put it in a glass, you can see little bits and pieces floating around in it. But of course, you don't get that now because they've done a processing like homogenizing, where I suppose the easiest way of looking at it is milk. Some of you may be nearly as old as me and can remember that we used to have milk in glass bottles delivered to our doors, and in the morning the cream would have settled on the top. But now all of the milk that you buy, for example, out of the supermarkets is homogenized. So all that cream, which is actually the fat, is then dispersed equally throughout that bottle of milk. And that's exactly what they've done with the new gel. They've dispersed all the nutrients equally throughout the new drinking gel. While in the stabilized gel, it wasn't homogenized, and therefore you had all the bits and pieces floating around, and you had a totally different taste because of that, but also because of the different stabilizers which were added to, many of them were added to sweeten it, and that's why it contained more calories than the new product. Next one.
Thank you. So we have a question here. What can you mix with the gel if you do not like the taste of it?
Yeah, there's certain things you mustn't do with natural products like gel. You mustn't add it to anything which is very hot, like adding it to teas and things like that. You also mustn't add alcohols to it because that will also damage it. Most fruit juices can be added to it. In fact, we had a gorilla over in the Gerald Durrell Zoo over at Jersey there, who had a problem I was trying to sort out for him, and he liked it in Ribena. and we just used to mix up the gel in the Ribena, and he actually used to put his hand out every morning to take his Ribena. So you can mix other fruit juices with it, and I know people do mix up smoothies and all sorts with it. So there's quite a selection of different fruits that you can add in with it, and it doesn't affect it in any deleterious way.
Amazing, thank you, David. So the last question's from Fiona, and she has asked, is it possible to drink too much aloe?
Well, they did do trials back in the 1960s to see how much gel you could drink and what would be the effect. And all that happens, if you did drink large amounts, 500 mils a day or something or more, you may get a change in your stools, your motions. They may go a little bit looser. They can actually sometimes go firmer, but it's more likely to go slightly looser. So you'd have to drink a huge amount. All you've got to remember is that you should not over drink any fluid. People to take water, for example, we all told to drink 2 litres of water a day. Well, that actual fact came from a company called Danone, who was trying to sell you bottles of water. They never accounted for the water which is actually in your diet. And in fact, there is a disease where you overdrink water, and it's called salt poisoning. So even any fluid you could drink too much of. So basically, you would have to drink very large amounts of the gel before you'd see any detrimental effect. And the first thing you would notice would be a change in your motions. So if you were drinking hundreds of mils a day and you start to get a change in your motion, you know you're having a bit too much. Okay.
Amazing. Thank you very much, David. Really enjoyed that, and I hope everyone else did. Enjoy the rest of your evening, everyone.
Yeah, loved you all, and hope to see you at the next Success Day.